Good evening and welcome to another edition of Money Talk with Melanie. I am your host, Melanie Collette, and I am coming to you live from beautiful, hey gang, from beautiful Cape May County, New Jersey. Welcome. Happy back from Thanksgiving Day. I hope everyone had a lovely, outstanding Thanksgiving and found much to be grateful for. I see Mr. Deontay is in the house, as is Kevin Martin and Ronald and Dan. Doug, hi. Debbie, hi. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm super excited. I know I always say that, but I am. I'm so fortunate that I get, such good guests that want to come on my show. I'm always just really excited. And today's guest is Reecy Aresty, and I'm sure I'm pronouncing his name wrong, and he'll correct me on that when I talk to him shortly. But he is a financial aid expert and author, which I thought that we all could use, those of us who are forever in school like myself. And people say I'm either teaching school or in school, which is true, or both. I don't think I'm ever getting out, but he's going to I'm going to hurt Deontay Johnson. For those of you who are listening on SHR Media, as you know, I stream live on Facebook, and some of the comments in the chat are distractingly hilarious. Hi, Doug. Somebody just asked me if my head was smaller. No, it is not smaller. It did not shrink. But anyway, I have Mr. Aresty on as my guest today, and I'm very excited about that because he's going to tell us how to pay for college without going broke. And there'll be some good information for parents as well as students. If your parents sent you to the School of Hard Knocks and said, pay for it yourself, as they should, by the way, because it's your education. That's just my opinion. You should pay for it. Then you'll want to listen up. And if you are parents, I apologize for that. If you are parents, I did not turn my phone off. I apologize. Rusty, it's been a week. And if you're parents who are, you guys are of the mindset in this day and age that, our little pumpkins can't pay for anything or suffer any type of, sacrifice until they're 30. So then you'll want to listen up for this as well, I would think, for this information. It's unbelievable, really. I mean, not that my parents were like, get out, because they weren't. But, I went to school at 17, and yeah, it was all about better get you a job or 3. And I'm not mad about it. I think it's a great thing, taught me resiliency. The only way and probably that it did do damage is hard to ask for help if you need it, because you develop this sense of independence. I don't think the kids of today have that issue. Like the whole asking for help issue. Hey, Miss Misha, Mr. Misha, Greg, Gina, Matt, Robert. But anyway, without further commentary on the whole, I'm being a hater, okay? Because I had to pay for school. Lots and lots of money. But Mr. Aresty is going to help us with that situation. So I'm excited. I'm very excited about that. I hope that was not him that just called the wrong number. We'll figure it out. Anywho, I'm so happy to see all you guys here. But besides that, before we do that, a bit of housekeeping. I want to thank, first of all, always thank one of my sponsors, Eva Rosenberg, aka the Tax Mama. You'll hear her commercial in the next break. But if you haven't been, the end of the year is coming. If you have not been to her website, taxmama.com, to ask a free tax question or to get any of her books, you should definitely check it out. She's got 20 years experience in the biz, and with tax reform on the horizon, I would think she's somebody that you want to get to know, and she's absolutely brilliant when it comes to all things taxes. So she is your girl, the tax mama. Also, I have 2 articles out right now at thehornnews.com. They put us on double duty because we had a Thanksgiving break coming up. So I have 2 articles. That's my guest right now. I have 2 articles at the Horn News. Good evening. I'll be right with you. I'm actually in the middle of my open. Thank you so much for doing the show, Mr. Aresty. Thank you. And you'll tell me if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. But what was I saying? Oh, I have 2 articles on the Horn News website right now. One is entitled, and I'm not, listen, I love my editor, Steve Dietrich, but I just want you to know that, like, I don't make up the titles. That, like, you write the article that they ask you to write, and then the editor, like, they do their thing. So I just forewarn you. One of the titles is how much is this Obama program still costing you? And then that's about DACA and how much it costs. And plus, I'm a nerd. I just love doing research, but it is incredible amounts of money. And the second article is called, In Simple Terms, Here's What Tax Reform Means for You. So, and that's just a quick and dirty, nuts and bolts tax reform article. And you can find those both posted on my page, but if you want to go directly to the Horn News, you can find them there as well. If you want to follow me on Twitter or Facebook, Twitter is at MoneyTalkMel, or on my political page, if you want to see all the hate that comes with being a brown conservative, you can go to NJGOP Diva and follow me there. Or you can like my Facebook page. You'll know who my wonderful guests are, such as Reecy Aresty and other fantastic guests that I'm so fortunate to have on my show. You'll know ahead of time when they're going to be here. Daryl Graham's here. Hi. John, I just saw Claudia. Hey, you guys rock. Welcome. John, Gary, I'm sorry if I'm missing anybody, but welcome. So glad that you guys are here. So check those 2 articles out. And then finally, I was on SiriusXM last week. You can pick that up on demand if you want. I got to interview Gordon Chang, which was on my bucket list. I still can't believe the people that I get to interview when I do Sirius Patriot Tonight. And like, it's the same people that you see on national TV. And I'm like, well, how am I getting to do this? But I got to interview Gordon Chang about Korea. So my last visit there, and it was just amazing. She was like, who do you want for this? And I was like, do you think you can get Gordon Chang? And my producer totally made it happen. So it was great. So anywho, you can catch that on demand if you want. Now, a little bit of Money Talk news. You guys probably have all participated in this, but Cyber Monday, which is today, is predicted to be the biggest online shopping day in history. They're predicted to do $6.6 billion with a B in sales. That's cray-cray. And I haven't even spent any money yet. So it's probably going to be up to another billion by the end of the day. I'm kidding. But $6.6 billion bucks. And listen, it speaks to the optimistic economy that we have going on. And if Congress doesn't get their collective behinds together and pass tax reform, we're going to be in big trouble, which they're trying to do by Christmas, I believe. And they also have to, within the next week, revise the federal budget and pass a budget measure. So we'll see if they, keep their act together and get that done. But they better get on it. Anywho, you're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette. Excited to be, I can't believe I have this much energy after a full day of working with high schoolers. It's probably the coffee. But I'll be back in a few minutes right after this break.
Well, growing up in Cleveland, my dad often instilled in me the benefits of maintaining a grateful heart. Hello, wife. Ron Edwards on today's page from the Edwards Notebook. Because of Dad's teachings, including to be grateful every day I get up, it is not difficult for me to also be grateful for living in a rather fantastic republic. In fact, we all have that choice to either be grateful or to choose to be bitter and mean. As an American who happens to be brown-skinned, I I can honestly say that there are many things to be grateful for, including my family, and that is why I find it reprehensible that former NBA player and current big mouth LeVar Ball chose not to be thankful that President Trump took the time to convince the dictator of China to release Ball's son and two others who allegedly stole designer sunglasses. They were facing over 10 years in a tough Chinese prison, but Ball chose to show a pedestrian attitude of ingratitude, probably because of the president being a Republican who is falsely accused of being a racist because he simply wants to protect America from terrorists and illegal immigrants. Mr. President, I, for one, am grateful for what you did for the three wayward Americans, but please stop giving Twitter attention to Mr. Ball and focus on making America great again. I'm Ron Edwards. Sponsored by the Tri-County Liberty Coalition.
Who likes paying taxes? Nobody. That's why Eva Rosenberg from TaxMama.com wants you to pay less of them. Read Small Business Taxes Made Easy and learn how legally hiring your spouse and children can slash your taxes. Learn how to set up a business plan that minimizes taxes, the benefits of setting up an exit plan, how to avoid getting audited, and how to legally increase your deductible expenses with better record-keeping techniques. Don't let the IRS squeeze you out of every penny. Visit TaxMama.com. Click on Ask a Tax Question to get free answers to your tax and business questions. TaxMama.com. That's TaxMama with one M.com.
Okay, we're back. Oh my goodness. I can't believe we talked to Ron Edwards. Now, a lot of times, I'll tell you guys, a lot of times when I get his Edwards notebook, there's Ron. Hey, a lot of times when I get his Edwards notebook, sometimes when I play it, it's the first time that I've heard it. I can't believe he called Donald Trump out on his tweets. We're going to have to talk. Finally. Anyway, I just had to get that in, especially since he really can't respond. Without further ado, let me introduce you to our guest today. Very excited about having him to talk about this topic. You want to talk about money talk and lots of money. First of all, Reecy, can you tell me how to pronounce your last name so that I don't do it incorrectly?
Aresty. Just like Aristotle.
Ah, okay, Aresty. Very good. Thank you so. And Reecy is fine?
Yes.
Awesome. Let me tell you a bit about my guest, Reecy Aresty. Very excited to have him on the show today. He is a respected college financial aid advisor and lecturer. He's been doing so since 1977. He's also the author of the book, How to Pay for College Without Going Broke. And he has helped thousands of families to protect their assets, increase their wealth, and reduce their taxes in the process. You know, he's been promoting this topic that's of immense concern to families, as I discussed in the open. You know, how in the world do you pay for college? He's a founder and president of Pay Less for College in Boca Raton, Florida, and it's also a website, which I'm sure he'll tell you about when we talk to him. And he's been presenting free seminars from coast to coast and has received rave reviews from parents, students, and guidance counselors. And I'm very excited to have him on the show today. Thank you so much for your patience in me bloviating, Mr. Aresty. I appreciate it very much. How are you?
I'm fine, and thank you very much for having me on your show.
Excellent, excellent. So, as I may not have told you this in advance, but I'm a school teacher, I also teach college, and I'm still in college. I feel like I'm going to be in college forever. And so I thought tons of people would be interested in this topic of how in the world to pay for college. And you as an expert in the field and financial officer, I'm sure you have many good tips to share. So first of all, when we fill out and the process has changed, certainly, probably since you've been in the business since the 1970s.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Sure. Right, back in the day, when I first went to undergrad, I had to fill out, paper forms, the FAFSA, but now everything is electronic. How can families and students qualify for the maximum amount of financial aid that they're looking for?
Well, it all depends. There are a couple of scenarios. There's the ordinary family, two parents, and then there's the divorced or separated parents. And many of those folks have a situation where one of the parents is going to be the more affluent, and the other parent will be the less affluent parent. And there are legal ways to have the lesser affluent parent be the custodial parent in the financial aid formulas.
Really?
Yes, it has nothing to do with the divorce decree. It all depends where the student is living. They fill out the FAFSA, and if both parents are in the same school district, it's not a problem for the student to live with the lesser affluent parent, as long as their driver's license has that address on it, and all the records at high school have that parent's address on it. If, for example, the parents live in two different states, there's no problem with filling out the form with whomever the student lives with, and if it happens to be the more affluent parent, when the student graduates high school, there's nothing to prevent them from going to live with the other parent, who happens to be possibly substantially less affluent. We then refile the financial aid forms, and the student can legally qualify for thousands or maybe even tens of thousands of hours of additional financial aid.
Oh, wow. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now let me back up just a tiny bit, because I threw out that word FAFSA, and that's because I hear it all the time, and I've been dealing with the FAFSA form for years now. I'm my third year of my doctorate, so me and FAFSA are good friends.
Right.
But can we tell the audience what exactly the FAFSA is, since I threw that out there? It's an acronym.
Sure. It's the free application for federal student aid that every family must complete to get into the financial aid system. And it's a form. The FAFSA does not give any aid. The college does, and so does the government, and sometimes there are outside sources that the student might get financial aid from. But it's simply information in, EFC out. The EFC is the expected family contribution, which is the minimum amount that the federal government determines that that family will pay for college wherever the student happens to go. And it's based on the PPY, prior year's income and tax information. So students who are applying now, which the financial aid program began October 1st, the financial information was based on the 2016 tax return, which better have been filed timely.
Right.
And that will determine, of course, it'll determine one of the determining factors for the expected family contribution. And the EFC is based on parent and student income, parent and student assets, age of the older parent, number of dependents attending at the undergraduate level, and a whole bunch of other factors.
Exactly.
Students in the financial aid system need to be broke, because for every dollar they have, they lose 20 cents per year in financial aid.
That's amazing. It really is. I mean, in a way, it's kind of messed up, because it's like you penalize the kid that's a hustler. Like you penalize, you know what I mean? Like the government, and I get it in theory, but if you think about it, you would think you would want to encourage the kid that's a hustler, the kid that has some skin in the game. But that is absolutely not the way it works.
Well, there are two portions. There's income and assets. Students have a $6,400 income protection allowance, but they have no asset protection allowance. So for every dollar they earn, they lose 20 cents. For every dollar they have, they lose 20 cents per year in financial aid.
So
for those families who own a business, there's another strategy where they can legally, if it's a small business, owned and controlled by the parents, or one of the parents, they can legally put any of their children 14 years of age or older on the payroll and pay them $6,500 a year, and the student will pay zero in income tax.
Yes.
If there are 2 or 3 students and the business has substantial income that might be paid out back to the parents, let's just assume that they have $18,000 of taxable income. The parents will probably pay several $1,000s in income taxes. If they have 3 students, they'll pay zero.
Exactly.
So and then, of course, we have state taxes. We don't have those in Florida, but most of the other states have state taxes.
Oh, we have plenty here in New Jersey.
Yeah, I know. I grew up there, and I remember when they instituted the sales tax in July of 1966, because I bought my car at Reedman Motors in Langhorne, Pennsylvania, and paid no sales tax.
Exactly. That's perfect. That's perfect. And that strategy about employing yourself also works well tax-wise, just in general. If you own a business, you want to make yourself an employee, ideally.
Absolutely.
Just like a little side note, Money Talk with Melanie. Side note that strategy works. That's a good tax strategy for small business owners all the way around.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I've saved families thousands of dollars in income taxes, in addition to increasing their financial aid.
That's
because
amazing.
Once you get in the system and you get accepted to a college or hopefully several schools, the first thing they're going to do is send out an acceptance letter, and then the student is in the acceptance mode. And most students ignore what they should do when they get a birthday gift from a relative, and that's send out a thank you note, because getting into college is a big deal. And when they're in the acceptance mode, they need to contact every financial aid officer who sent them the acceptance letter. And along with the acceptance letter may or may not be an award letter for merit-based aid.
Yes.
A merit grant or merit scholarship, which has nothing to do with income. It has to do with the student's performance in high school, their grades, etc. And once they get the merit aid, they have to thank the person, whoever it was that sent them the letter and the gift of possibly several thousand or maybe even tens of thousands of dollars of merit-based financial aid.
And you can get that as a graduate student as well. I've received it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, there are other things graduate students can do.
But you can I just want to put that out there for everybody who's listening. If you're an adult who's thinking about, going to college, and if you got good grades in undergrad, you can get a merit-based like grant or a scholarship. I think I get 2.2% off a year or something like that, which is significant.
Well, there are a couple of other tricks that we have up our sleeve, and one of them for graduate students or even undergrads, they find out which professors got fellowships, and contacting the person who got this money, mind you, it's tax-free, and if the student does research for them, they can get paid off the books.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, right.
That's a real good one, because I'm thinking, like you said, a lot of people don't know. I've never heard of that. And I'm in the biz.
All
I've never
these strategies didn't come about overnight. I didn't dream them up. I've worked with these since 1979, and I have a very strong internet presence. I've had clients on 3 continents, and if I had been doing anything suspect one way or the other, I would have been locked up a long time ago.
I was going to say, you'd be caught by now.
Yes. Everything we do is legal, moral, and ethical. Period.
Excellent. I love it. So what are some other little known strategies that people can take advantage of?
Well, you're in New Jersey, so Anybody who lives in the Northeast or the Midwest can't use this strategy, but folks in the South can. And when the award letter comes out and it doesn't meet all the need-based financial aid, and here's how the formula works. It's COA, cost of attendance, minus EFC, which is the expected family contribution. And if you take one thing from the other, you get FN, which is the financial need. And that's the maximum amount of need-based financial aid that a student can get. So let's take NYU, for example. The cost of attendance is $70,000, or maybe it's a little more this year. I remember when it went up to $50, and that was a long time ago.
Woo!
Now all these high-profile schools, the cost of attendance is now in the $70+ thousand range. So let's assume that the student got an award letter from NYU. The cost of attendance is $70, and let's assume that their EFC was $45,000. So that leaves $25,000 of need-based financial aid. And if they didn't meet the need 100%, then there's unmet need, and one of the ways that we ask for more help, we don't ask for money, we ask for help. I write all these appeal letters. I've been appealing probably 98 to 99% of all financial aid award letters that students get. I write the letter, the student signs it, and for those folks from the South who live in the South and they're going to school up north, one of the things that I've been able to get for a select few students was a winter clothing allowance. And the most I ever got was $2,300, and that was for a student from Florida who went to Muhlenberg, which is outside of Philadelphia.
What?
Yes.
Wow. You got the money for clothes because they're used to living in a warm place. So the theory, the working theory I'm assuming is they're used to living in a warm place. Therefore, if they're going to live up north now, they're going to need warm clothes that they normally would not have were it not for them going to school in a cold place.
Exactly. One of my kids, I don't remember which it was. It was either Rochester Institute of Technology or Rensselaer Polytech. It was one of those two. And we appealed the award, and the student got a $500, and they called it a grant, but it was a winter clothing allowance.
So they don't have to pay it back either.
Correct.
Wow.
It's free money.
Wow.
Here's a question for you.
Yes.
And I'll answer it for you.
Okay.
How many, and for your audience as well, how many opportunities for financial aid are there? Well, the student's going to be in undergrad for 4 years. You have to fill out the forms every year. The only difference is there are 8 opportunities because there are 8 semesters.
What? Wait a minute.
How many students get aid for a college and don't show up in January for the second semester?
So there's more money available.
They flunk out or whatever.
So what you're saying
all
is
that money that was awarded to those students goes back to the college.
right.
And if a student did a really good job in the first semester right out of high school and didn't get all the need-based aid possible, then I simply write a letter asking for more help for the second semester because a lot of money that was given out reverted back to the school, and we know 100% for certain that some of that money is now going to be available for the second semester, and we need a little help. Blah, blah, blah.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. Because that's very true. I mean,
yes, of course it is. in the second year, there's a lot more money available because a lot of students either lost their scholarship because they didn't maintain a 2.0 or 3.0 or whatever the GPA was to maintain a scholarship to continue it beyond the freshman year. And a lot of students will have transferred or flunked out or decided they just want to drop out of college and go to work or go to technical school. So there could be tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars of additional aid available for those students that the school didn't meet the financial need 85, 95, or 100%.
Now, how come this is not something that your admissions counselor, emails you about, or your, you know what I mean? Or your financial aid counselor doesn't email you like at the end of the semester and say, by the way, you might want to reapply so you can get more money.
Well, they work for the school. Their best interests are served for the college, not for the families of the students who go there. Who's writing their check? The school.
True. They always seem like they're trying to help me, though.
Well, they do to a degree, but their loyalties are to the college, not to you as a graduate student.
Of course. That makes a ton of sense. But I've never heard of that, because the FAFSA really gives you the impression that it's a once-a-year thing. And in the interest of full disclosure, I teach financial lit, and we just had this question on a test. How often do you apply for the FAFSA as part of like a whole preparation for life type deal? And
well, you only apply once a year for filling out the form, and then
right.
Of course any mistakes or errors or changes, you can correct it. But there are 8 opportunities for financial aid, because nothing will prevent a student from asking for more help for the second semester when they know very well that the college has more aid now, because more money available, because a lot of students who aren't going to show up for the second semester.
That's fantastic. That's good stuff. That's really good stuff. So in addition to that, that's stunning, quite honestly. And you get a good response from that, from
yes.
the schools.
You have to be persistent, and you have to be nice.
Nice is important.
You can't demand, and you don't ask for money.
Ask for help.
But and the other thing, the appeals process can take I've had the appeals process go from April to August, and in some cases, I had another situation a few years ago at Emory University in Atlanta, where it was a divorced couple, and the father was the nasty ex-parent, and we didn't finalize hold on a second.
Sure.
We didn't finalize the financial aid until November, after the student had been there for a couple of months.
And that certainly happens.
Oh,
and
sure.
it can be a very nervous time for the parents and the students when the financial aid situation is not settled until after school starts, because you legitimately don't know how much money you're paying out of pocket.
Correct.
So, that can
now that the Perkins loan has been canceled, where do you think that $5,500 or $4,000 or whatever amount of Perkins loan money the student might have gotten, where do you think that money is going to come from? It's going to come from a parent loan.
And
the bulk of the $1 trillion debt, student aid debt, is on the parents, not the students.
Really?
Students can't borrow. Students can only borrow $27,000 as an undergraduate in the Stafford Loan Program.
I did not know that either. And I'm going to guess many of my audience members had no idea about that either.
Well, that wouldn't surprise me either.
That's
a dirty trick that the Perkins loan was canceled, because who's going to benefit? The federal government, because they're going to dole out more parent loan money. When they changed the Stafford loan from $2,600 to $3,500 several years ago, people thought, oh, that was a good deal. Well, it wasn't, because it was a good deal for the colleges, because all of a sudden, the difference, the college didn't have to come up with in a grant or a scholarship, because the student was now able to borrow more money.
Well, whenever the government is handing out money, that is not usually a good thing. the entity that's benefiting from that is usually going to take advantage. And in
Right.
this case, it's colleges and universities and the skyrocketing costs. We're up against a break, but when we come back, I want to talk about how it's possible, if it is possible, to go to, you know, your dream private college for the same cost as a public college. I want to talk about that on the other side of the break, if you don't mind.
Oh, that's fine, sure.
You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette. We'll be back in a few moments.
My name is David Barnett, and I've been helping people buy and sell small and medium-sized businesses since 2008. So far this year, I've gone on 5 vacations. It's because I've got my own business. When you get tired of being managed by someone else and you decide that business ownership is right for you without the risk of starting your own unproven enterprise, then come over to businessbuyeradvantage.com. There are over 100 YouTube videos on buying and selling businesses that you can watch for free. That's businessbuyeradvantage.com.
Who likes paying taxes? Nobody. That's why Eva Rosenberg from TaxMama.com wants you to pay less of them. Read Small Business Taxes Made Easy and learn how to set up a business plan that minimizes taxes, the tax benefits of different forms of financing, spot and fix errors in the 1099s, legally increase your deductible expenses with better record-keeping techniques. Don't let the IRS squeeze you out of every penny. Start deducting today. Visit TaxMama.com. TaxMama.com. That's TaxMama with 1M.com.
The best late night conservative talk show in America, Tackhead Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk. Tackhead John and Tackhead Clint. We're working on immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best late night conservative talk, Tackhead Radio. The best late night conservative talk show in America. In America. And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
Hello, I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires due to his shameless contract with SHR Media Network. The voice promos. He'd like me to tell you that the Blow-Eating Zeppelin Berserk Bobcats radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and obstacles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
Power brokers use corrupt politicians, deceptive Islam, and lies from establishment media to turn the once shining city on a hill into the city of the blind. What do the elites fear? One man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me at SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Spreaker, iTunes, and YouTube for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guide. Because truth is not always pleasant.
And we're back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I am your business diva, Melanie Collette. Happy to be here with Reecy Aresty, who is talking to us today about college financial aid and how to pay for college without going broke. Has already really taught us some very little known tips and tricks in order to pay for college without, you know, giving away all your money, basically. And so if you are just joining us or joined us late, you definitely want to make sure that you listen to the podcast that I post later on, where you can get some of that information. Before we broke, I asked about those people who want to, those students who want to attend a private college, but they think they can't afford it and how they might be able to afford it at the same price as a public college?
Well, the private schools have more money than most of the state colleges, number one. State colleges have very rigid guidelines when it comes to financial aid, and the private schools don't. And very often, the private college, which might cost $20,000 or $30,000 a year more than a state school, will be able to fund a student's education at 100% of the financial need, whereas the state college, in many cases, can't.
You're so, I just, as soon as you said it, I was like, of course. That's why I'm a big advocate of school choice in the first place. For that because that also works, believe it or not, parents, if you're thinking about sending your kids to a private school, a K through 12, they offer financial assistance, and many times it's self-funded. A lot of people don't know that. But if you have no money, but you have a kid who's a good student, look into a private school. If they're a good enough student and can test in, they might offer them a full scholarship. Private schools absolutely offer full scholarships, K through 12, private schools.
Yep, that's sure.
And part of the reason...
And the Ivy League also gives merit aid. They say they don't, but I know they do, because I got a student a few years back at Princeton. It's a long story, and I'll make it real short, but for the first couple of years, the parents didn't fill out the FAFSA because the students had about $70,000. He and his sister had about $70,000 in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, and they were afraid that they wouldn't qualify for any financial aid, so they ignored filling out the form. And then they came to one of my seminars, and in the second semester of the junior year, I was able to get the student $18,030 of need-based financial aid.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not. And I have the documents to prove it.
That's amazing. But that is the inherent difference. And you know, my audience knows that I've been on my soapbox about the whole education thing for a while now. But that's the major difference between public and private entities, is that private entities' hands are not tied when it comes to creatively financing what they want to finance, which is frankly why they do so much more with so much less. I mean, a private school that I worked at cost much less per student to do a whole lot more than in private school. And there's a reason for that.
Well, Harvard has $36 billion in their endowment fund, and they could fund the entire enrollment for the next 100 years and still have billions left over.
Exactly. In private schools, you know, you literally can have an eccentric alumni who's like, I want to finance a kid who likes the color purple, and they'll find it, and they can literally do that. So
absolutely, they can do whatever they want.
They can do whatever they want. They can do whatever they want. So, and listen, government is hand-tied because it's public money, but some of it is total buffoonery too. It's just waste and buffoonery.
No kidding.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I always encourage people to not be discouraged about the cost of private school. And if you looked at their budgeting, you would see that by and large, private schools don't spend as much as public schools, and they get a lot more done.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and that's just because they're accountable to their alumni, so they can't afford. They don't get to waste money. They just don't. Right. They just don't. They don't get to do that. So you know, and you know, not for nothing, they can be, their financial manager can be creative with how their money's invested.
Oh yeah.
You know, whereas, you know, public entities can't do that. So, I mean, in fairness, that is part of the problem. So now, if you are a 10th or 11th grader and you're interested in going to school, Is there any way to get interviews with the department chairman so that you can be ahead of the game? Is that possible?
Yes, I get 10th graders, and every once in a while, in a rare instance, a 9th grade student, an on-campus interview as a non-applicant with a department chair, because I work with kids I like to work with students just before they get into high school, just when they're getting out of middle school, because once they get into high school, they're laser focused. They know what it's going to take to get to where they want to be and to go to the colleges that hopefully they'd be acceptable to. And it's very interesting because, I mean, I've had kids that get really psyched up for high school when I start working with them. And one of the first things that happens is that the teacher will, or the teachers will say, now, who wants to run for class president? And most of the kids will hide behind somebody who's tall. My kids, they're out front with their hands raised because they know what it's going to take to get all these extra hours of community service, and it will lead to dynamite letters of recommendation. I mean, I've had students who had over 1,000 hours of community service, and when the transcript is read in the admissions office, and they take a look at the GPA and the SAT or SAT2 or ACT scores, and then they say, wait a second, 1,112 hours of community service? What was their GPA, by the way?
Right.
They're overly impressed with what the student did for others rather than what they did for themselves.
And it also speaks to discipline and perseverance and things like that I swear to you is more important than any SAT score.
Sure. Well, there's an old saying, plan your work, work your plan. Nobody plans to fail, but too many people fail to plan.
Exactly. As much emphasis as schools put on the SAT scores, I'm always shocked because I'm like, that's your SAT. Being smart is hardly what you need to finish college. That's like a fraction of what you need to finish college. You need a whole lot of other stuff. Being able to deal with people, like I said, discipline, perseverance, stick-to-itiveness. Those are what you need really to finish school. Being smart's like a little bit of it. That's like you're only like, a quarter of the way there, just being smart, in my opinion.
Right.
I mean, matter of fact, I know a whole lot of people who aren't all that bright that have degrees. I'm not even sure you have to be all that smart. But let me ask you this before we bring the show to a close. How can my audience avail themselves of your services directly, and where can they get your book? Where can they get in touch with you?
Okay. Please go to my website, www.paylessforcollege.com, FOR college.com. Send me an email, mention Melanie Show, and I'll be more than happy to give any family a free consultation and a copy of my ebook, and we'll take it from there. And to be very honest, after I talk to most families, there are usually two choices. I can help them or I can help them.
Excellent. I absolutely love it. You are chock full of just some fantastic information. So I can only imagine what it is that you can do for a family one-on-one. I mean, you're talking about it's equal to, a small home what you could possibly pay for your education.
Yes.
And so with that kind of investment, I would think that you would want some type of consultant, somebody to go to get good advice and save money in the long run, just like you would go to a financial advisor if you came into a large amount of money. When you're about to spend a whole lot of money, I would think you would want to go to a counselor who is knowledgeable about how to navigate that.
Well, I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I just have to have been doing this longer than virtually anybody else in the business.
Excellent. I absolutely love it. I appreciate you being on the show. I hope you will come back because things are about to change dramatically, I suspect, since tax reform is being passed. And I am sure that Congress, that this particular Congress anyway, and that President Trump, I'm guessing, is going to be addressing the student loan situation and the debt situation, which is a whole other thing I'm sure we could discuss.
Yes, that's absolutely right.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Have a great night.
You.
Oh man, I did not mean to cut my guest off, but he was fantastic. Reecy Aresty, he is a college financial aid expert and author. And if you go to his website, which I posted in the chat on Facebook, and I will post in the podcast for you all on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio, who are listening audibly, so that you can take advantage of his offer for a free ebook and a free consultation. Again, you were listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I am your happy business diva this evening, and I appreciate your listening, and those of you in Facey in the chat for being here. Have a great night, and remember, all of this is very important because after all, it is your money.